Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Nestor. I'm an investigative fellow with Parents Defending Education, and welcome to Parents on the Hill Defending Education. As parents, staying updated on what's happening on Capitol Hill can be pretty tricky. It's tricky to get to know members of Congress working on education issues. And of course, the mainstream media isn't always the best at giving parents a good perspective on what's happening on the Hill. So, to help parents get an inside look at their government, we've launched Parents on the Hill Defending Education. It's an honor and privilege to introduce to you Congresswoman Erin Houchin. Representative Houchin is a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. She represents Indiana's 9th District, which covers south central and southeastern Indiana, stretching from the southern suburbs of Indianapolis to the Indiana side of Louisville. So Representative Houchin has served since 2023. She's also the mother of 3 children. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Alex. I'm pleased to be here today.
Wonderful. We're so happy to have you. In preparing for this conversation, I actually read an article that mentioned that you were helping your son with his spelling, with his phonics after a campaign event that you had. And I think that's a really good place to start our conversation. So let's talk a bit about you being a mom and being a member of Congress and how the former influences the latter.
Yeah, that photo was taken a long time ago. It's still lurking around online. I guess we never, things that are online never go away. But I ran for Congress in 2016 unsuccessfully. But during that campaign, I was also a mom. And of course, still a mom. But my son was in, I think, first grade at that time. And he was having a really hard time with spelling. We would spend hours a night just trying to get him to master his spelling words. A huge amount of effort. We discovered in 3rd grade, my son has dyslexia. And so through all of those struggles as a parent and then a policymaker, I was in the state legislature in the Indiana State Senate. So came to this issue as a parent, but worked on it as a policymaker. I found that my story is much like anyone else's story when they find out their kids are dyslexic. There just aren't a lot of resources. And quite frankly, we have failed in the way that we're teaching kids to read in this country since really the 1980s, when we went away from phonics and we went more toward balanced literacy using sight words and context clues. So we're really pushing to get back to the science of reading. But that's what sort of prompted me to be so active in this area in terms of education and literacy, because of my firsthand experience as a parent with my son, being on the campaign trail and then at night for several hours, just trying to get him to be able to master his spelling words.
Yeah. So literacy reading is one big issue in the education space that you're passionate about. What are some other areas in education policy that you are focused on right now?
Yeah, so a couple of things that I've been working on. One is the Parents' Bill of Rights. Of course, we passed that as one of our first bills. It was H.R. 5. It was one of the first bills we passed in this Congress. And the Parents' Bill of Rights really was born out of all of us as parents seeing our kids and what they were learning in schools during COVID. And quite frankly, many parents were shocked at what they were being taught, from CRT to social and emotional learning. They were not being taught the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic, but instead it was this whole push toward DEI and some indoctrination that many parents were very, very unhappy with. And it promoted around the country a burst in homeschool and charter school participation, private school participation, because parents were finally opening their eyes to what they were seeing. And when they did try to get information at that time and additional information, they were by and large shut down by what I call the education industrial complex that really became very closed with the information they wanted to give to parents. So we put forward the Parents' Bill of Rights. We passed it out of the House. Of course, it hasn't passed in the state or in the U.S. Senate, but we wanted to stand up for parents and their right to have access to information, their right for their kids to feel safe, and a number of other things that were very important pieces of that bill.
That's right. And I believe Representative Julia Letlow was the main sponsor on that bill. And she's also a mom, which is
She
wonderful.
is, yes. She's done a great job as a young mom. She's got much younger kids than me, but she's doing a great job of balancing it too. And she led the charge on the Parents' Bill of Rights, and I was happy to be part of it.
Awesome. So let's get into some topics that our parents are talking about right now. One is kids' online safety. We know both at school and at home, kids' safety online, apps, websites don't have the best security policies for kids, for students. We know that 96% of apps used in a school setting don't have the proper safeguards for children. And you recently introduced the House version of the Kids Online Safety Act. So tell us a bit more about this bill and the importance of protecting kids online.
Yeah, so this follows some of the work that I did in the Indiana legislature, trying to prevent kids from particularly sexual exploitation online. But the Kids Online Safety Act, I'm proud to be part of that. My kids now are 20, 18, and 15, but they were teenagers using these apps. And when my 18-year-old daughter was 13, she accessed Instagram and was messaging people all over without our knowledge. And when we did try to delete her account, we were unable to do that as her parents because she, as a 13-year-old, had access and full oversight over that Instagram app, and we were not able to delete it. So we really had to try to protect her at that time from accessing it in other devices, when she's with friends or at school. And it was a very difficult time in the family. So I was passionate about being part of the Kids Online Safety Act and championing that on the House side, not just because of my own personal experiences, but the hundreds of other families who have experienced horrible things, these online challenges, bullying, which has led to suicide. There should be a duty of care provided by these people that are providing these platforms. And it's our responsibility, I think, as policymakers to stand up for these kids and for their parents and try to provide some safeguards.
Absolutely. And that's, you touched on the mental health element and aspect there. I mean, reports showing that Facebook, Instagram are detrimental to kids, students' mental health. So, how can parents check on their students' data security at school? What should they be paying attention to? And what are some questions that they can ask their school about safety protocols regarding websites, apps used in the classroom setting?
I mean, they should always feel like they should be able to ask their school and receive that information. And if they don't, then, that's a big red flag. But in the Kids Online Safety Act, we have some additional protections for data privacy for our students. And that has been particularly important because we want parents to be able to have access to this information. We want them to be able to go to their school and feel that their child is not being exploited in any way by the apps that they have access to. And, some schools are better at this than others. Some schools do have it locked down, but as parents, we absolutely should be going and asking these questions of the school at the beginning of every school year. What apps will my child be accessing for their schoolwork? What messaging apps are available to them, even within their own student body? It's not just having access to messaging that goes from Facebook or from Instagram or Snapchat or others. I mean, even in the school's platforms, students can message each other, and there should be at least some oversight of that to prevent bullying.
Absolutely. Another big issue that we're hearing from parents, especially parents of high schoolers, seniors in high school, is the botched FAFSA rollout. Tell our parents what Congress is doing right now to put pressure on the education department on this issue. I know there was a hearing last week. Tell us more. What information did you get out of Secretary Cardona about this botched rollout?
Well, rest assured, Secretary Cardona told us that everything was fine. It is not fine. We are asking him to make sure, and we asked this of him last October, but he assures us that this FAFSA will be ready to go for the next cycle in October. Unfortunately, for this current cycle, we cannot get that time back for these families and these kids who have been waiting on their financial aid decisions to know what kind of university they may want to and higher education they may want to seek. We tried, I've got a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old who are both having to do the FAFSA. And we started when they claimed it was going to be available in January in the botched rollout. And it was really, I would give the Department of Education a failing grade, although Secretary Cardona refused to grade himself. That is the grade I would give him on this FAFSA rollout. One thing that's clear and was clear in my conversation when we had the secretary before our committee, I asked him if he was given any congressional directive, any law to do a student loan bailout. He said, no, they had not. But they were given a congressional directive by law to simplify the FAFSA. And they were given 3 years to get that done. And in the 3 years they had to simplify the FAFSA, they spent almost all of their time working on and trying to retool this student loan bailout from Joe Biden. And so that has left millions, literally 18 million students across the country and their parents and families who are struggling to understand what their economic contribution is going to be to pursue higher education. We've asked the GAO to investigate what went wrong. They are expediting that study, and we expect to have their report, and we will continue to push on the Department of Education to do the right thing, make it right for these kids and their families, and try to keep them as held harmless as they can be under the circumstances.
Yeah. I mean, so as you mentioned, they had 3 years to make these changes. And then, if I'm not mistaken, they were made aware of the technical calculation error at the end of December or early January. They then said the rollout would happen mid-March. It's now mid-May, and we still have families and students unsure of what their decision is going to be, where they're going to attend, university because of this, which is, not a great position to put families in. So what resources do parents and families have right now? What can high school seniors do, and what can their parents do?
I have been encouraging families in my congressional district to contact me in my office, and I would encourage people to contact their members of Congress to try to get those answers from the Department of Education. That's part of the reason why we're here. That is part of our constituent service, is to engage and interact with federal agencies. It's unfortunate that you have to call your member of Congress to get some of these answers, but that's part of it. That's why we're here, and we will absolutely try to run down this information as quickly as we can for these families. Sometimes it does require a member of Congress sort of continuing to push the envelope on behalf of these kids, and we will certainly do that. I think the frustrating thing for me is I feel it's a little bit on the, I wouldn't say it's on purpose, because it's really just flagrantly incompetent, I think, what they did with the FAFSA rollout. But it wouldn't surprise me if they are so focused on the student loan bailout that that's what they really want people to have to do. Because if they can't get the FAFSA, they don't know what's going on there. They may have to go to a private loan. And if they have to go to a private loan, well, that's much more expensive than the government-backed loan. And then it continues to compound a problem that the Biden administration wants to save people from. So, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but Alex, it does make you wonder how they could be so incompetent to not get this right after being given 3 years to do it. They were supposed to roll it out in October. In December, they saw that there were some red flags with the technology. What this reminds me of the most, though, is the failed Obamacare rollout. I mean, the exchanges never worked properly, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So I'm as frustrated as any parent about this situation with the Department of Education. We're committed to trying to get these answers for these families and holding their feet to the fire in this next go round. Unfortunately, again, we can't get the time back for these families that they've lost in trying to get this information. It also hurts our universities, particularly our smaller schools, because they can't count on their enrollment numbers because students aren't committing because they don't know the answers on how much of a contribution they're going to have to make under FAFSA. So the Department of Education gets an absolutely failing grade on this and many other measures. We're going to continue to hold them accountable.
Well, thank you for your work in doing so. I know your time is limited. You need to get back to serving your constituents, but how can our parents keep up with you and what you're doing on the Hill?
Sure. We are on social media, Congresswoman Erin Houchin. I serve on the Financial Services Committee, the House Education and Workforce Committee, and the Rules Committee, so you can follow the committee work through those pages. Also, we have a Substack, Erin Houchin. We have a podcast, The Contender with Erin Houchin, where we talk about people who are going after it on behalf of their communities, and like to highlight success stories there. So houchin.house.gov is the website, and certainly grateful for the opportunity to talk to you guys today. We'll keep fighting for parents as long as we're here, and those kids. It's part of the reason why we do our jobs. So thank you for having us.
Thanks so much for being a champion for parents, for students. And in closing, as always, it's so important for parents and advocates to be aware of what kids are being exposed to. It's important to ask questions. If you find something concerning about your school, please reach out to us at defendinged.org. We're here to empower parents and to help expose concerning issues happening at schools. Please share this video with a friend and tag us. Thank you again, Congresswoman. See you next time, everyone.
Thank you.